everyone, I am Dr. Moassefi, and today in this class we want to talk about dermatopathology, which is actually the pathology of our skin tissue. This topic is a very important topic in pathology in general, since our skin is a very available tissue for us to reach. And when a patient has some kind of symptoms in their skin, patients have symptoms in their skin, we can do a biopsy. It's very available and easy for us to do a biopsy on our skin tissue. For example, if a patient comes to our office with some kind of nervous system symptoms, okay, for example, brain issues, we cannot do a biopsy on the patient's brain, okay? It's not actually ideal for us to do that. It harms the patient a lot, okay? But in skin tissue, it's not like that. When patient has symptoms, we can do a biopsy, color it, and use the pathologic knowledge that we can earn and put a net diagnosis on patient's symptoms. So it's very important topic in clinical field. Okay. To know about dermatopathology, we need to know a little about normal skin tissue. So I want to start with showing you that. If we cut our skin actually and color it in some ways and put it under microscope, you can see something like this here, okay? This is the picture. This is epidermis, dermis, different parts of our skin tissue. But to study that, we use some kind of pictures, drawings, and stuffs that makes it actually easier for us to study the pathology of the skin. These two pictures here are some kind of pictures that I chose for you to explain. Okay, here you can see here, this picture is a tissue of our skin. Okay, it's the drawing of it. Here we can see that a skin is actually divided into three parts, three important parts in our skin. We have that. First one is epidermis, the most superficial layer on our skin. The second part is dermis, which is divided into two parts, papillary dermis and reticular dermis. The other part under that is actually hypodermis. Hypodermis is generally fat under our skin, okay? An example for that is the very thin fascias that we have, superficial fascia that we have on our muscles. We study that in anatomy, okay? Today, we want to talk more about epidermis, okay? This is the structure of epidermis. Not all part of our body, most part of our body's epidermis looks like this, okay? It's made of the most important cells here are, not most important, one of the kind of the cells here are stratum basalis. First, I can say basement membrane. We have some material here which is called basement membrane. This is this material here that divides the skin. Above that is epidermis. Underneath that is actually dermis. Okay. Above that, we have the first layer of our skin tissue. It's stratum basalis, stratum basal, okay? It's one layer cell here that reproduces and goes up, okay? As these cells produce and goes up here, it goes through some kind of changes, okay? That gives all layers very specific qualities that this layer have, so we can divide them. It's divided into four important layers, actually. So stratum basalis is the layer that reproduces, the first layer. Above that, we have stratum spinosum. Cells here have small spinosomes, the desmosome junctions between the cells, okay? This is the distinctive quality here. Above that, we have a stratum granulosum. Stratum granulosum, the cells here have very specific granulomes in them, and keratinization actually starts from here. It starts from this layer, okay? But we can see the keratin proteins in our skin cells from this above, okay? From stratum granulosum above, we can see that. Keratin protein is a material that our skin cells produce that, so the skin gets filled with this keratin protein, so the nuclei actually destroys, it vanishes as it goes up, and the cell dies too, okay? So the most superficial layer here, stratum corneum, in this layer, we do not have nuclei, and the cells are dead, and they're just filled with keratin proteins, okay? We have some other cells in our skin tissue too. T cells, Langerhans cells. Langerhans cells are a kind of macrophage cells. These cells are very important to our immune system. As you know, skin is one of the most important part of our immune system, since it's the biggest barrier around our body that keeps us from infections, bacteria, and everything. Okay, another cell here is melanocyte. Melanocyte is in between stratum basalis cells. It produces melanosomes. It is actually the thing that makes the color of your skin. Okay, people with different skin coloration, white people, black people, all these people have not different number of melanocytes. They have the same number of melanocytes, but these melanocytes produce different amounts of melanosomes. Okay, so the difference of coloration in our skin is because of different amount of melanosomes. That's an important thing. Okay, this one here was, as I told you, the microscopic view of our skin. In our book, we have a very important table about microscopic lesions in our skin. This table is very important because we can learn some kind of terminologies that we define them, and after that, when we are describing a disease, we use this terminology, we use these words. Okay, so when I say in psoriasis patients we have acanthosis, hyperkeratosis, you can come back to this table and see actually what those things are. Okay, the first one is acanthosis. Acanthosis is diffuse epidermal hyperplasia. So all the cells in these layers, okay, they go through excessive reproduction. Okay, so we have hyperplasia of all these cells in our epidermis. Okay, that's acanthosis. We can see acanthosis here in this picture. See, we have a very thickened skin above our dermis. See, this is acanthosis. Okay, the next one is dyskeratosis. Dyskeratosis, when we have the dys here, it means abnormal. As I told you, we have keratin proteins in our cells from stratum granulosum above that, okay? If we find keratin protein beneath stratum granulosum, that's not a right keratosis, that's dyskeratosis, okay? Abnormal premature keratinization within cells below the stratum granulosum. That's the definition of dyskeratosis, okay?